The Little Prince?
Yeah.
I met him on a deserted island. No, I was introduced to the book when I was about 19. By the way, I'm Alex Juhasz, character designer, stop motion on The Little Prince. A friend introduced me to the book, actually insisted that I read it, and I found it at a point, late teens, where all the existential crises of that moment were really important, and that's where I developed my relationship with the little guy.
Yeah, for me, I'm Peter de Seve. I did the character design for the CG portion, for the real world part of the film. And actually, when I was younger, when I was a kid, I know I was introduced to it, I think, in French class when I was in 7th grade, when I was very young. And I did not connect with it. I didn't quite grasp it. It was too poetic, it was too philosophical. I didn't connect. And it wasn't until much later, probably the next time I read it was when Mark Osborne contacted me to design the characters, and kind of realized what I was missing, because it's a beautiful book and there's so much to take with you from it. And I think more than ever it has something to say about what's important and what not to get lost in. So my relationship with the book is it's almost newfound. It's only a few years old. But I'm glad I found it. I think the Little Prince has a lot to say about maturing and about recognizing what's really important.
I mean, a lot of people revisit that book when they come into points that, like, I've talked to a lot of people. It's like, hey, I was having a tough time. I didn't know, I picked up the Little Prince, especially when they grow up. It's
right.
Like, oh, I'm in this job I don't like. I want to move on. I'm stuck. They'll take a moment and read the Little Prince, and almost as like a revisit. So as far as maturity goes, is it a sign of maturity? No, I think it's a way to, like, remember what's important or to revisit that. That's right, and we worked completely separately.
In fact, we only just met yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it almost makes sense that we created these two universes in totally different places, in two separate bubbles.
But the link, is the book. So our reference point was the same thing, but we went on two parallel highways, I guess.
Well, that's great. That's great.
I'm glad it seems like merges. Yeah.
That's for Mark, I think that was a very difficult concept for him to sell, and I'm sure it's a relief to him that it comes across that way.
And a testament to the success that
the success of
the film, of the storytelling. Yeah.
It's I know. I think it's kind of amazing. I suppose this is where we give Mark credit, because he's the maestro, and he has to coordinate all these things and find a way for these two worlds to talk to each other and for one to enter the other. So
and it's Mark's vision for the film was this. So, like, that's what he wanted to do, is to make these things one complete idea.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, it's different because for my end, it's like, you go from drawings, like, you get a good drawing, something that feels right. When it feels right, I guess it's like when anything, when when you have a good drawing.
Yes.
And it's like that feels what I want.
Right.
Maybe it wasn't what you set out to do.
Right. Sometimes it's totally by accident, especially I would speak for both of us and say our styles, which are both pretty loose. I find things by accident sometimes.
Yeah, or intuition or something.
Yeah, and sometimes I'll find it in one drawing and try to reproduce what happened in that one drawing, and it doesn't always happen. But sometimes it's enough to have that one drawing as a touchstone to go back to and say, there's something here. This is what we have to aim for. Well, speaking for myself, because of the characters, for the most part, that I was doing were not straight from the book, I had a little bit more license. Although tonally, I think there was something I had to keep the book in mind, and I did do lots of drawings of the. Originally, I did drawings for the stop motion before they knew exactly who was going to do the stop motion. So I was really exploring the Saint-Exupéry's drawings, but also I had to do the real world versions of those characters, so I still had to understand them. But it was challenging to decipher what the hell was going on in Saint-Exupéry's little squiggles with blobs of paint, because they're never consistent. The characters change from page to page, and sometimes you just cannot figure out what. Like I always say, the lamplighter. I still can't tell whether he's wearing a hat or whether it's hair, that blob on his head. But it was harder for you.
I was working closer to the original stuff. As far as whether it be a limit or an inspiration, it's both. Limits are good, and for me, it's like my I was inspired to keep it, feeling the same way, and to keep the emotional resonance, and but also the aesthetic quality, which is that naive approach to art making, was really important. So in the limits of the simplicity, like that's a great window that's a challenge to work through. And that was difficult, but in the end, what you end up with is like a simple design that I hope, or my goal is that when people see it, it reminds them of the Little Prince that's in their memories and in their hearts, Not like it's my version of it, but I hope it feels that way. Like that's what I was trying to get at. That's a mark, but I mean, character-wise.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not entirely timeless. The little girl's costume, certainly 20th.
Yeah, it's modern.
21st century. Yeah.
But also, he's from the.
He's from
he's like super old. If we were actually doing real timeline.
Yeah.
He's like 110 or something.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So the only thing I wouldn't say that I was drawing Little Girl completely without a country in mind. Whatever I could decipher or try to channel that might be a little bit French, I was trying to get into her face and into her, into her costume. I did look at what schoolgirls wear here, which is not entirely different than what some of the the private schools wear in the United States. But I did look into that, and I did in fact contact friends of mine who live here in Paris and who have little girls of just the right age, and had them send me photographs, and they were helpful. There was just there's something subtle in there that I hope I brought to her that might feel just a little bit French.
I really loved Ricky Gervais did the voice of the conceited man, and Anthony Scott, who's our lead animator on the project, did an amazing job with the performance in that. But that particular puppet, I think was just beautiful. Like it was I really like that one. I like the way he turned out. He looks, every time I see him, I smile. The king, you know what? I take it all back. I like all of them the same, but him the best.
Okay, so that's not the same. One of them is better than the other. That's what the answer to the question is.
At the moment, like you give me a seat, like I really like the king too, like the King's Secret. All right, businessman. Yeah.
For me, I haven't seen the movie, but so I honestly don't know how all the other characters turned out. I've seen the little girl and the aviator, and between the two of them, I think I like the aviator, but I haven't seen the rest, so I don't know.
movie.
I have not seen the movie.
You
No.
haven't seen it.
No,
yet.
that's my point. I haven't seen the movie yet. I know. Well,
Well, this
they only
performance
showed
is
it.
fair,
They
man.
showed it in Cannes. Yeah, that's if we've learned anything
Yeah,
in this film. The world is not fair, and that's what we take away from The Little Prince. No, because it hasn't been released, and I haven't had a copy sent to me, and they showed it in Cannes, and I didn't go to Cannes. I couldn't go to Cannes.
That's terrible.
Yes, it's terrible. It's terrible. But I hear it's great. I hear it's great.
I hear good things.
I like the trailer.
I hear good things.
I hear things.
So,
What is it like to work with him? I was afraid somebody was going to ask this question. No, I'm kidding. He's a delightful guy. I've worked with a lot of people. I've worked with some very nice people, but what really inspired me about he really inspired me about the project. This was really passionate for him. It was clearly a labor of love. He got it done in very, very difficult circumstances. But I really felt kind of honored and grateful to have a chance to work on it with him. He's a delightful guy.
I like Mark. No,
Haiku.
I like Mark. I like his direction. No, Mark's fantastic. It was a real honor to be involved in this project, and what he brought to it, his passion, his vision, was wonderful. And he gave me like a lot of trust, and I'm sure you feel the same way. I mean, actually, I don't know if you feel the same way, but I'm just gonna say, I'll speak for both of us here, that just a lot of leeway to find the characters and to get them right to how I don't like our own standards.
Absolutely. Yeah.